Hello, Siana here. Just a quick update about groups. We are very excited to be starting our first group for autistic counsellors. It's starting on the 12th of November. If you'd like to be kept up to date on all things groups, please go to our website at autisticlicense.com/groups and you can sign up for our newsletter there and you'll be the first to hear. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Autistic Licence podcast. I'm Siana and I'm in Carrickfergus in Northern Ireland.
And I'm Leo in Suffolk, England.
We invite you to listen in on our conversations as we experiment with unmasking in an autistic space. We talk about what it means to discover we're autistic as adults, especially with established careers as therapists. We want people to know that autistic therapists exist and to broaden the conversation about neurodiversity. You're so welcome to join us, whoever you are and wherever in the world you are. We hope you'll find something of interest and connection here. Welcome to Series 3.
How are we dividing up these seasons? I suppose it's just whenever there's a big gap and we decide to come back, we'll kick off a new season or series.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I have to remember that we had that discussion the last time. There has been a big gap. The last time we recorded was August in Suffolk. Mm-hmm. And we probably put that out in September. It's now nearly November.
Nearly the end of, it is the end of October today. Today is Halloween.
Yeah.
We're recording in the daytime though, so it doesn't feel very Halloween-y.
It kind of does here though, because it's really wintry and cold and dark and rainy. Yeah.
Kind of the same here, to be honest. I just haven't been out, so I'm cozy in my house and it's daylight.
Can you not hear? Can you hear the wind and the rain?
No, not at all.
Can't.
Good old Zoom. I might be able to when I get your recording. That might record locally.
No. I mean, can you not hear in your house? Can you hear it when you're in your house?
I see what you're saying. It was very windy last night, and I did hear that once I went to bed and it was all quiet.
Yeah.
I could absolutely hear the wind. And in fact, it's funny you should mention that actually. I wasn't even sure what it was. And I got up and opened the window to see if it was wind because sometimes there's farm machinery running all night in some nearby field. And I thought maybe it was that because it's unusual to hear the wind from inside the house. But it was indeed wind.
Yeah.
And we've obviously just had the big hurricane across the Atlantic. I don't know if there was any tail of that was getting to us or if it's just our own little wintry weather system. I don't know.
I don't know if it's anything to do with that. I just know that it feels like it's Halloween.
And this being my first Halloween for a long time away from London, where it's very visible in the shops, where everything is spooktacular, etc., etc. Yeah. But, you don't see decorated houses. That's a Christmas thing, really, if you see it at all. But here, it's quite different. And there are quite a few houses, including one opposite me, which is all done up in bats and spiders' webs and lights. And it's quite interesting that I've not seen that before. But I know that where you are, it's a much bigger deal.
Yeah, it's the same probably as it is where you are. I think it must just be more like a London thing that it doesn't happen more than that it's unusual for it to happen, I think.
Maybe.
Listeners, what's your experience of people decorating their houses for Halloween?
And trick-or-treating, etc. I remember when that kind of came to the UK, that was always purely an American thing. Decorating and trick-or-treating. And there was a big not a news story, a magazine story, I suppose. There was like a magazine programme after the news called Nationwide. On the BBC in the 70s and probably into the 80s. And they did a story on how kind of celebrating Halloween was coming over here from America. But it was really, I think, that story that brought it here in the first place. And suddenly people were trick-or-treating and it was, there was a lot of disdain. That's an American thing. Why are we doing that here? But I suppose from in your lifetime, it's been more normalised.
We didn't call it trick-or-treating when I was younger. We called it Halloween rhyming.
Rhyming?
Rhyming. So there was a Halloween rhyme that you said. So people, if people opened the door, you said, Halloween is coming and the geese are getting fat. Please put a penny in the old man's hat. If you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny
will do.
If you haven't got a halfpenny, then God bless you.
I've heard that. I know that. But I don't know that I know that about Halloween and the goose is getting...
That's what children used to do, and it wasn't for sweets, it was for money. But I think sometimes people would have given you sweets, but I do think it was seen more like for money, and it was just called Halloween rhyming. So it was, are you going Halloween rhyming tonight?
Wow.
It wasn't called trick-or-treating. In fact, I never... Even like the children that come round now, really they come to show you their costume to get Haribo sweets. They don't come to do a trick, and they wouldn't really do a trick. So, and I don't think they even say trick or treat. They just kind of stand there and you tell them how wonderful they look and then you give them sweets.
Yes.
And that's how
I think that's, yes.
As a parent, that's how I've always... so as an adult, I guess, not as a parent, but as an adult, that's how I've always seen Halloween. The children come to the door and you make sure you've got sweets to give to them. But whenever I was a child, it was called Halloween rhyming. Maybe there was a era in between where it was called trick and treating, whenever I was like neither a child nor of course, an adolescent. And I didn't really have anything to do with that tradition.
Yes. Yeah. That rhyme you said, I'm sure, is a Christmas rhyme originally. I think that's how I know
Halloween is coming.
But I think it's Christmas is coming. And I don't know, I know it like that. And that makes sense of the goose is getting fat, because that's what you would have at Christmas.
But when I was a child, people did it at Halloween.
Wonder which is which, or which came first, or what's based on what. That's really interesting.
What you're saying, and it might have been just a Northern Ireland thing.
And did you do that when you were a kid?
No, because there was a lot of frowning on. Should you do that, or is it begging? It's basically going round the door saying, "Give me, give me money."
I thought you were going to say that it was frowned upon for being an anti-religious thing or an anti-Christian thing as well, because...
Yeah, my parents wouldn't have said anything about that, but they would have thought it was wrong to go and ask people for money.
Because it was for money, yes. Whereas now it's just, I mean, you can see that all the supermarkets specially sell big bags of mixed sweets and chocolates and stuff to have by the door.
Always stand nearby to protect their children. In the old days, of course, the children just went round in the dark and knocked on random houses.
Yes, yeah. That sounds well dodgy now, doesn't it? I was asking if you did it because I was when I was a kid, it didn't exist here. It was just an American thing at that point, so it hadn't come over. But I was just imagining there's no way I would want to do that. And I think, again, and I'm not just kind of layering this in because it's the podcast, but I do think as an autistic person, that would have freaked me out completely.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not, like even doing cold calling if you're a salesperson, telesales, which is what a lot of young people would do as a first job maybe, but that just was terrifying to me.
Yes.
To approach strangers and not to know what to expect, and maybe to expect to be told to fuck off.
Rejection and the door to be slammed in your face, which would have happened probably more often than not. And people, of course, in those days there wasn't big dress up, so you basically had a false face. Do you remember those masks that you put on? They were called false faces. Well,
I know masks as in horrible plastic rigid things that would cut in.
We called them false face.
Oh, we just called them masks. False face. And would they be like celebrity? Would they be like celebrity ones or horror ones? Or?
No, like a witch or a lion or something like that. They were the kids' things. And I remember they used to be sold and it was, have you bought your false face yet? Because everybody, your parents were meant to buy you a false face for Halloween. It was like just tradition, like a Christmas present, you got a false face, and then you chose, and that, you know, there was more expensive ones and more elaborate ones that had wool for their hair. But compared to nowadays, of course, it's way more sophisticated.
The masks, all I remember about is not being able to breathe, and the plastic edges just cutting really viciously into your face.
They did. They were horrible things. They were sweaty and hot and all of that. I don't think that I would have worn mine for very long.
No. And I'd have done anything I could to get out of it, I think.
Yes.
I'm glad that I missed it.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit last year, I think.
Did we?
Because we talked about what a big deal it was. We maybe touched on what goes on in Derry as being the biggest Halloween festival in Europe, it said. Yeah, which I think is probably true.
It could well be true. We didn't go this year. Lana feels like it's commercialised and it's better to do like the smaller niche kind of things.
Which is by the way, what kind of thing?
Well, she went to Punkaween, which was a music centre in Belfast, showcases like new music and stuff, and they had this young people's event on called Punkaween. So it was like 14 and up.
Okay.
It's a music centre that was set up actually by like Ash and I don't know, Snow Patrol, maybe some people from Snow Patrol. So it's called the Oh Yeah Centre, which is like the Oh Yeah Ash song. And then there's this branch within it called Volume Control, I think. I'm doing really good marketing here.
This sounds amazing. Absolutely, you sold me.
So anyway, they do events and it's a nice venue, one that I haven't been in, but I've heard of. And that's where she was actually on, it was the 29th of October this event was, but she had a great time. Very, very, very elaborate costume that took, several weeks, if not months, in in the gathering and the preparation and the vintage purchases and the hair wig from somewhere else and all of that. She looked amazing. And
will you stroke both of you be doing anything on Halloween itself tonight?
No, well, I think we'll be watching a movie, but no, we won't be doing scary things or anything like that. But we will be opening the door, because Halloween is predictable. We can absolutely cope with opening the door 5 or 6 times tonight, because we will have, the treats, and we will basically know the script and know the drill. It's all very predictable, and we will really enjoy it. If anybody knocks our door ever at any other time of the year,
they can forget it if they're not expected.
And they don't have a pre-arranged appointment, it will not be opened. But yes, on Halloween, we will be very happy to see the costumes and see the children who will be there. So yes.
Yes, it's been on my mind to make sure I've got a pack of celebrations or something close to the door this evening.
Yes, well,
because there are kids around, and because houses are decorated, I'm assuming that around these parts it is kind of a bit more of an activity.
Okay,
than what I've been used to.
Mummy with a nut allergy.
Yes. Of course.
Is saying, please don't give them celebrations, and that they'll go out in the dark and potentially eat something with nuts.
Yes.
That might not be okay.
Of course. So
please do Haribo or
yes, I was just going to say Chewies instead. Of course.
Instead, yes.
That would be a bugger, I reckon, if I was doing it. Now, if I was a kid and I was doing it now, that I'd just get all the sweets I don't like, because I'm not mad about chewies and gummies and stuff. I want chocolate.
I may be wrong to say Haribo.
No, I think
that's what I would get, but get like something that's not got any nuts.
Yeah, of course.
Because the children will absolutely gorge on whatever they get. And the parents won't necessarily know, or they might be looking after children that aren't their own. They might be out with the whole gang, and you don't want a kid to have an allergy.
No, of course.
What on earth it is.
Yeah, yes.
Better if they have sweets they've had before, I guess.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I'm surprised actually, given that there is so much awareness and fear, anxiety around nut allergies particularly, that the manufacturers aren't kind of making a deal of that.
Oh, yeah.
And making sure that, well, I suppose they can't do that, because if you're a producer of something that does have nut traces in it, or nuts, then you're going to suffer, actually, commercially.
That won't concern the people who are making a thing of it.
Well, no, exactly. No.
It's like Hinnerton do at Christmas. They have advent calendars. Hinnerton?
No, I don't know Hinnerton.
Yeah, I'm advertising all over the show today. If anybody wants to,
whatever these are available.
Centre, if you're listening, do you want to sponsor?
So Hinnerton is what? So that we can flag that there are others available.
It's Kinnerton. And it's a company who produce, they guarantee it being nut-free chocolate. It's nice chocolate. So they will advertise and use that on their advertising for advent calendars.
Of course.
So yes, absolutely. There could be companies that could use that as a selling point for Halloween. Yes. Yeah. So, what are we going to talk about? Because let's hope we don't put this out at like Christmas.
No, we'll have to rush this out, I think. or it's, Halloween flashback. Hey, do you remember 2 months ago?
That's right.
And the goose was getting fat? Even though you have that at Christmas.
So, what can we share that might be of some interest or amusement or whatever else we do for the people who
we always come to
give us their time?
We always come to something, don't we?
Are you tired? Because you've been like rubbing your eyes.
I shouldn't be. I've been sleeping quite well, and I didn't feel like I desperately didn't want to wake up this morning. Don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit allergic. Can't think what to.
Are they itchy? Your eyes?
No, I don't think so. But I have got a sniff. I have, haven't I? I was just going to say. My eyes aren't itchy. They are watering a little bit, and I have got a bit of a sniff on.
Well, then that's what it is.
Okay. So maybe some antihistamines after this.
Maybe some antihistamine, yes.
A lot of conversations in my work recently, don't know why at this particular time, have been around, and it's may not keep this in, but it's something that you're talking about at the moment as well, which is overwhelm with tasks and going through things. And it's familiar to us in our work that themes crop up seemingly randomly, but then suddenly everybody seems to be talking about the same thing. And I can't quite work out why it's now. If it were nearer Christmas, I'd understand, I think. But that's been a theme, and I've been seeing lots of people talking and making memes and stuff about this kind of thing.
Okay.
And there was something that was specifically around neurodivergence, which I think is interesting, around how that can work. Perhaps, arguably, it might be more on the ADHD side than the autistic side, about it's very difficult to prioritize out of a whole bunch of tasks. And there's something also about everything seeming immediate, that it's all now, and therefore not being able to prioritize is doubly difficult. And actually, it reminds me of the conversation you and I had a few days ago about the timeline. We were talking about the timeline in your head.
Okay, yeah.
Where there seem to be 3 moments that exist.
I remember, yeah. Okay, you can share.
Okay, which was ages ago, now, and not for ages.
Yeah.
And so that, I think it's a very interesting dilemma, not sure what the right word is, between the kind of ideal state of mind for the majority of people, what is talked about in terms of wellness and mindfulness, which is to try to detach from the past, detach from the future. The only real thing is this moment, and to be fully in the moment. And that's kind of held as an ideal. And I guess the same thing around meditation as well.
Yeah.
And why that falls over for a lot of neurodivergent people because actually there is a need for stimulation. There is a need to know what's coming as well. All these things around comfort, to contextualize things with the past. So the idea of actually, maybe because of an ADHD type experience, but also an autistic one, that you are just in the moment, you are kind of paralyzed by all of the things that need or want to be done. It's very difficult to lay them out or to prioritize. A lot of ADHDers, including myself, find that medication can help with that part, that things do seem to be just a little bit more ordered and spaced out. And the other, I remember, so we will cut all of this down, but I've got lots of context. But I remember when I was in the corporate world before I started doing this, I mean, not podcasting, but therapy, but both, I suppose. I did a couple of kind of time management courses that, departments were sent on, and they were all, most of it was really obvious, but some of the thing, you always go away with one or two nuggets that, that's useful. I'll hold on to that. And the one thing that I remember that really stuck with me was a visual kind of demonstration that the woman who was giving the talk, the class, whatever, and she had a pint glass and then a bag of sand and a bag of rocks. Little rocks. And she was basically talking about what the temptation to do when you've got all your tasks in front of you is you do the easy ones first. You do the ones you enjoy the most first. And that kind of gets you going, blah, blah, blah. And why that was problematic. So the sand represented all the little nice things. And she poured that into the glass and it kind of half filled with sand, if you can imagine that. And then she tried to put the rocks, the harder, bigger things in, and of course they didn't fit. They said what you do is, emptied it all out, all the rocks in first, that fills the glass up, but then you pour the sand and it fills all the gaps and blah, blah, blah. That stuck with me and it made total sense. And I think there's a modern version of that now, which is eat the frog. Which is the saying, which is about, well, it's a nasty task. It's the thing you've got to do, but you get that over with. You do that first. And then it motivates you. It's the worst thing over as well. So everything gets easier from that point. And again, it's the same kind of, process, and it makes sense to me. But I heard, and I've seen it repeated, in some, there are neurodivergent memes around this, where they've reframed that as eat the ice cream. So in other words, you do the nice enjoyable and easy thing first. And see, you're smiling, and it's obviously exactly. And it's kind of counterintuitive in that original mindset because, well, you'll do that and then you won't do the difficult things. Where's the incentive? However, we know that we are motivated strongly by reward, for one thing, dopamine. And also it's like that couch to 5K thing as well, that the big thing is just not doable. It's too big. It's too overwhelming when you start with the easiest kind of most insignificant thing. Then actually, well, for me anyway, and you're nodding away, you can then go on to the next thing, and build up to the big thing. And it's interesting to me how it is kind of counterintuitive, and it is very much something that I suppose I've always struggled with, but not knowing why, not knowing that's for me an ADHD combination thing. Like another example I always think of is and I've never done this, but I have joined a gym, but I've never had a personal trainer. If you get a personal trainer, it's the stereotype of that anyway is to get you to push and push and push. And that's not enough. It's not enough. That for me is just a total turn off, and I just walk away from anything that looks like that. And this is just, it so happens for whatever reason that the majority, I would say, of people I work with are talking about at the moment.
Well, okay, why? I think you're gonna go on a bit too fast and stop.
That's why I paused there.
So it was okay, but then I started to have thoughts about things that I wanted to say, and if I don't say them, then I'll lose
totally.
So what I was thinking about was the rocks and the sand, and how that makes a lot of sense, and I can see the logic. And also, though, it was what you then went on to say that, but sometimes, and then you, the other thing was about the frog. And I was thinking, yeah, but I can't eat a frog. And so then I would be thinking, I'd be stuck at the first hurdle. And it got me thinking about when Lana was little and couldn't get started on dinners. She just couldn't eat. She couldn't do a transition into eating, into food. And so what I would do is I would do what I called, and I think actually was, getting her mouth woken up to eat and to take in food. So I would give her a lollipop or something like that. And of course, people looking on might have thought, what? You're giving your child the treat before the meal? No, I was helping her with the transition into her mouth, realising that food is nice, food is tasty, and we gravitate towards the kitchen to do that. Not always the table, but we gravitate towards the kitchen, and we put something in our mouth and we gradually move into the concept of eating, and then we might have some dinner. And there's something around where, there might be something in between, like a rock and sand, or in between a frog and water that you can start with. And it doesn't even have to be like pleasant, or it doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be whatever is palatable. And then once you get in the mode of being in the place where you work, then something else will come from that. And maybe on different days, you work on the different thing, you do it in a different order. But it is that flexibility. And like the overall thing is, okay, we're not going to totally avoid anything hard that needs to be done.
Yes.
But especially as autistic people, there is that, the same thing as food. Well, we need to get something in there. We need, so we're going to get some work done, and we're not going to avoid everything that's such and such a type of a job, type of a food. But actually the order doesn't matter. And I feel like that as an adult as well. I mean, that...
I know what you're going to say. I'm going
to eat Maltesers now. And you'll be...
Well, dinner's on.
We get to do this because we're grown-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, it's such a counter argument to you'll spoil your appetite, you'll not eat your dinner. It doesn't mean I don't eat my dinner at all, and it doesn't really matter. But maybe there's something like what I used to help Lana with, which was actually I can do this, and I might enjoy them more now than I would if I waited till after. And what would I need to wait till I'm after?
Eat the ice cream. That's it. Eat the Maltesers.
Yeah.
It is. It's such a relief, even so late in life, to understand that there's a mechanism behind that makes sense and that's okay.
Yeah. Because
even, as a grown up, as a middle-aged person, there's still something that jars about being spoilt or indulged or doing something unhealthy. And to understand that there's actually a motivational mechanism that really works doing things that way is still such a relief, even though I don't have to justify it to anybody.
Yes.
And it goes that obviously, when we're specifically talking about food, that goes into same foods and safe foods. That, okay, I had pizza every night for a week. People will tut at that, but actually that's what I needed to do to remind myself and motivate myself to eat.
Yes.
It's very important. And, I do recognise, I think we both will say publicly, obviously that we recognise that there are dangers there and that there are health issues that are, potential risks around that kind of thing. But for us and a lot of people that we work with or know, it does come back to fed is best, especially with kids.
It's to be weighed up with a lot of other considerations. And I guess so to take this back to overwhelm and getting things done, getting anything done is best.
Yes, exactly.
You know, but then there is that other side of things where parts of some of us can push ourselves to overdo.
Absolutely.
And for me, or well, not even necessarily to overdo, to want to overdo. And for me, because I guess I don't know what all your clients are saying, but I can talk for myself that there's a very real sense of the reason why it's happening at this time of the year is because for decades, I'm on a cycle, which means that I will have a lack of motivation any time now. You know, coming into November, December, it'll be a struggle for me to get things done. So having experienced that for so many years, I want the things done now because it's easier for me to do the things now. So that's a self-awareness kind of thing. And then kind of looking after future me as well, because I won't have the same expectations of November and December me as what I have of September and October me. So it's not like a perpetual hamster wheel of over expectation. It's knowing that
it's episodic for you.
I want things to be done, and that will actually make my life less overwhelming next month and December. Yeah,
it's coming up particularly in our conversation today, but I think it's always hanging around, this idea that so much of what actually is the best thing, the right thing for us, for our neurokin, is very counterintuitive.
Yeah,
the whole thing about, like, you know, silent, empty-minded meditation is not actually necessarily relaxing for very many of us, and that there is some level of stimulation or visibility of time passing or something that actually is necessary. And again, same thing as you were in talking, we've mentioned this before as well, about food and nutrition, but also time management, time blindness, task expectations is very counterintuitive. And it also, I think it makes some of the possible solutions for that we can be quite resistant to. So for what I'm thinking about at the moment is the idea, and again, this is blindingly obvious stuff, but to say you can only do one thing at a time. It's actually really, really important when you cannot prioritize and everything is immediate and now, and it only exists in the now. You have to, through whatever, and eat the ice cream is one of those techniques of something where it's more visible, more easy, more tangible to pick one thing.
Yeah.
But when you've picked it, that you must discard everything else. It must be maybe literally out of sight. And two threads to this, I suppose, I've been finding that, you know, through talking to a number of people about it, that seems to be quite common, is one, that thing. So one thing at a time, but only one thing. So for me, that might be, okay, I've got a list of things I want to do today, but I will pick one out, write it on a card or whatever, and have it in front of me. And then the rest of the list goes away, literally. So it's just that. So that one thing. And then the other thing on top of that, and this is really hard for people, and sometimes practically impossible, but really hard, is one thing at a time, and that's all you have to do. That's the only thing. Yeah. And when you've done it, you don't have to do anything else. That comes up against a lot of things. Yes, but other things are important. It's one of the things. Yes, but that's wasting time. But to relieve yourself of the pressure of, as soon as I get this done, I've got to go back to that horrible list, is also paralyzing. There's flexibility. You're allowed to do other things, of course. And that can be that big motivator. I've done the thing. Okay, well, I'll pick something else now. But there is the same resistance kind of rebounds back again if you take that path, which is that, okay, I've concentrated on one thing, but the idea that now I don't have to do anything else and we'll restart this process tomorrow or in the second half of the day or whatever is very, very difficult. And the entire world, particularly the neurotypical world, is not going to understand that.
Yes, that would work for me in a season where I was struggling more So that kind of thing might be a strategy that I might use in a month's time, and I'll be absolutely fine with that. Also knowing that it doesn't last forever. I think that if you're in a perpetual state of that, it could also still always feel like the list is a bit of a tyrant. Even though it gets put away in a box, it's still always there. So I wouldn't use that on an ongoing, regular basis. I would see that as more what I would use if I'm kind of heavy, So I'm not going to say depressed because that takes away from, the clinical definition of depression. And because mine is very, very seasonal, I'm not going to say depressed, but I'm going to say heavy or, gloomy or a struggle or challenging. When I'm in that mode, then I might use something like that and might be very satisfied and fulfilled even that is kind to me and it's keeping doing what I need to do without the extras. When I'm in this kind of point or framework, whenever you or anyone, but mostly you, would say, oh, you can only do what you can do. I'm like, no, I could do a heck of a lot more and I want to do a heck of a lot more because I know I want to. Because this is probably ADHD paradise for me this time of the year because I don't want one thing. I want 10 things and I want to see them all at all times. And when I can find some way to have different coloured Post-its and ticking things off and doing something and then doing something else and then doing something else. Yes, I can feel the overwhelm, or there is a part of me that is overwhelmed. There are also 10 parts who are engaged on each of them, those 10 tasks, going, yay, 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 look at this, look what I found out, look what I've researched, look what I've done, look what I've got in place. But I do think it's really important to know that that is part of a much bigger system, whereby those parts know that they are helping the slowed down parts that are going to emerge quite soon. And, there is a time limit on it. It's not a race through life until you crash and burn out, but it is if I'm going to do creative, planning and, anything that I want in place for 2025, really, it needs to be in place over the next week, Hence probably why I said, if we don't record today, it's not going to happen. Because somewhere in my mind, I need to get something started. If I don't get it started, I'm not going to want to start anything in November or December, anything at all. So anything that's going to be done that's going to be started before 2026 has to be in motion. No, I hadn't realised that until I said it, but I hear you. That will be part of the motivation.
That's a much more kind of sophisticated and complex and episodic, seasonal almost set of experiences, and which also has multiple parts to it internal to you.
Yes.
And that's really, really useful because I know that there will be people that will resonate very strongly with. Rather than what I was talking about, which is a much more kind of just a strategic look at what it's like to be constantly overwhelmed and paralysed by things.
Yes.
So that, and it feels like there's much more of an emotional component to what you're describing as well.
Paralysis doesn't happen.
And energy.
Paralysis doesn't happen.
Yes, that's what I was also hearing. Yes.
It doesn't affect me in that way. Maybe if it went on for too long, it would. I think the thing is, I don't operate like this for years and years on end. It is cyclical with me.
Yes.
And perhaps that's where the ADHD looks a bit different in me as well.
I was just thinking exactly that. That's right. Because also what I know from knowing you is that you are always very comfortable and there isn't a struggle within you so much about when you just don't want to do the thing or anything. And you'll say no.
That's the demand avoidance.
Well,
is it?
No, I don't think it is. It's that you are confident, and correctly so, I think, that the right moment will come at some point and you will kick into that. It's just not now. So, no.
Okay.
You know, I see that a lot. And it's like it's allied to I want the Maltesers while dinner's cooking. You know, that's fine. And being okay with that. There's that comfort. I think I've learned a lot from you in that.
To have Maltesers before.
To have Maltesers while I'm waiting for dinner, or to...
The chocolate melting in your mouth just like coats it nicely.
God, yes. That's right. Because, it's about stimulation, isn't it, as well? And, you know, reward and all that kind of stuff that we know about. But the comfort with it, this is why it's different. Yeah, and I see why you're talking about that you don't experience that paralysis thing, because you do actually have a confidence that the time will come, the moment will come, and you will be able to do it, whatever the it is. Whereas the desperation, I think, that certainly historically myself and a lot of other people, neurokin people, is that moment won't come, because there isn't a moment they can see. You know, again, it's just, there's only now. And if I can't do it now, how's that ever going to change? Just by waiting or whatever.
Yes, I think there must be something when I really realised how cyclical my productivity, I guess, and my energy is, that then I can work with that and know that there's different possibilities at different times of the year. But it is interesting, though, to think, like, if somebody was to assess me for ADHD now, they'd probably like, fuck yeah, you know, whereas if they were to assess me at another time of the year, they might be like, no.
Well, so then
is that ADHD? No, you think you can see it at all times of the year.
I do. But in different ways, though. That's the point. That, you know, again, it's that kind of graphic equalizer mixer thing where there are high points and low points in each of the strands of our profiles.
Frequencies?
That's nice, yes.
From the graphic equalizer?
Yeah,
like
no, you're right, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's really good, actually. I saw somebody did put up a meme a year or two ago about, you know, what people think autism looks like and what it actually is, you know. And it was a little mixing board with, you know, faders, and that sometimes it's going to look like this and sometimes these other things are going to be lower and these other things are going to be higher.
But the thing is, people say that, and what they're kind of saying is that it changes from person to person.
Person to person, the spiky profile.
What we're saying is
that it changes within the person, exactly.
Depending on, I'm currently talking about seasonally, but maybe for other people there would be other factors.
Yes.
It depends on. Yeah.
It's really important. So, I mean, all we're doing really is making the whole thing so much more complicated than it already is, or in people's understandings, that it's that complex. So it isn't, you're right, it's not just the old, you've met one autistic person, because we're all so different. Yes. You meet one autistic person and then you meet them a month later and they may be having a totally different experience, especially if there's a mix of other things.
Yes, and they might only tell you how it is now because that's their only reality. And that goes back to that thing that you said about me. There is only now. Even though in this kind of thing, I can span out and see the seasons because that's been established for so long with me. But in general, there is only now, and I only want to talk about now. And I can't really recall very readily what happened a week ago or a month ago or a year ago. And likewise, some things just feel so far away.
Which is, so again, anti the stereotype of what autistic is. Except, well, you know, which is that everything is ordered, everything is filed and categorized, and we do have access. Except that you do have that in certain respects. Your memory for information or for things that have been said to you, of course I'm only talking about by me because that's my experience, you know, is exceptional. You do,
I could say that you repeat yourself a lot.
Yes, exactly. There's a difference. And the fact is that you know that, and you know when, and...
Yeah,
that's
okay.
Right. That's right. So there are elements of kind of a very linear, detailed timeline that you experience, but your actual experience of time is specific. It is, that focus on now and that difficulty with relating to other moments or to projecting into the future other than very practical things.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think that then if I'm with you, the same as, with clients, it will come back to me and I'll have that same, sort of quality or skill or whatever, I guess, that I can remember things that they've said and tie those kind of things together.
But they are now, aren't they? I am now.
They are not.
Because I'm with you now, talking to you now.
Yeah, but I mightn't. Yes.
Yes, that's it, isn't it? So actually, yes. Okay. I can. So there is still only the now. Actually,
there's still only the now and the immediacy.
Now is like a portal, also to the past. So you need to experience a person in front of you, and then you can access. Yeah,
the same as memories, or like, what did you do at the weekend is not going to elicit a good response from me. But if I happen to be somewhere that reminds me of another event, you'll get a really detailed thing of what I did 36 weekends ago, because it's been triggered.
Bang on.
I learned that from Lana, because I could ask her when she came out of school, what did you do? What she had no interest in telling me. But I now wonder, did she even remember? Did she know how to answer that question? Whereas 7 or 8 years later, she can say, whenever I was in P2, this happened, and the reason this happened was this and this, because it's been re-triggered.
Yes. And that, there's another very specific vocabulary just evaporated. Resonance.
It's relational and sensory. It's to do with something that's evoked at that time.
But you describing how Lana does that in relating one thing to another, like that is exactly my experience. That's the first experience I had where somebody pointed out the possibility of neurodivergence, actually, years and years and years ago. The fact that I do map things to other things, it doesn't make sense to. This is what, people around me would comment on. You always remember when a thing happens. And I said, well, I don't actually. It's really hit and miss. But if it happens to be tied to something else, then I do have that, like you get in mystery movies where somebody's trying to work out a crime and they have a big board on the wall with the red string tying loads of newspaper clippings together in an incredibly complex web. That is definitely how I've always mapped my own timeline out.
But someone has to ask for that to make you go follow those.
Yes. If somebody says, what was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you, or what was your favourite thing, then nothing at all. But if you give me a specific and that happens to be within that complex web of interacting timelines, then I can trace everything.
Yes.
And immediately, and then it will bring me back to that moment. And so actually we do both have that in different ways. We both only have the now, but if you give us a little portal into something specific, then we can trace it back, and then everything becomes visible. Yes.
And part of it as well is that I think that, because it's not true that then I can't recall things because of the processing speed. There's still like memories that come back of things that have happened that are nothing to do with somebody being still in front of me. But I might so that's a little bit different. That doesn't fit in this template, because that would almost be like it happens and then it never gets processed. And as autistic people, as me anyway,
very good,
it will get processed and it will come back to me many times, with or without the other person being there, or with or without it being triggered by someone else that I'm talking to, which I guess is the same of, like we think about our clients in between sessions. It's not only when we're in front of them. So, and likewise, any experience that we go through, we might recall that at different times. So I don't know how that works, but I guess that's just an internal thing. So something internally has activated that pathway rather than external. But there has to be something that activates it other than think about this person right now.
Yes,
so that's not going to happen. It has to be, or think about this experience now. That's not going to happen, whether I tell myself internally or someone externally tells me to. But if something evokes it, then I'm going to do it.
And that's something that evokes it, that kernel of something.
Yeah.
I think as we're talking, it feels like it's a perfect blend of intellect and emotion. I don't think it can be just one or the other.
No.
There has to be, in order for that intellectual stuff to be triggered and the mechanisms to grind into motion and to actually bring experiences and memories back, there has to be something felt quite strongly that opens that up.
Or, well, I suppose I feel like I'm not really in touch with that, but maybe it's not so much a felt to me as just a self-trust that I'll know the right time. So, like, it doesn't work for me to say, you're going to practice meditation or journaling or a guided such and such at 7 o'clock every morning. It's not going to happen.
That's
Whereas if I get the nudge from somewhere inside to think about something, write something, I'll generally try and follow that. I'll find space. That's like the sand that fits in to the day. But you couldn't just tell me to do that at such and such a time. So I guess then it's making me think as well, like, how does this work as a therapist? And I'm thinking, well, that's exactly for me what it is with supervision. So we have clinical supervision. Everybody who's working professionally as a counsellor will have clinical supervision. I could not just say that happens at this time and therefore I just show up and on demand I recall everything that I need to talk about. I have to keep an ongoing notepad that then when something comes in, it goes in there and I've maybe already done some reflection about this, that and the other thing, because I can't just be told we're going to talk about this now. That's never going to happen. My processing is going, and I can't just say, oh, we're going to prepare for supervision 2 hours before or the day before. There's going to be a blank then as well. It's going to have to be just motivated by me and gradually sort of gather.
Yes. Well, talking of timelines, it's unfortunate we both do have a time limit today.
We have a time limit.
But I tell you what, for me anyway, that actually is useful because that, in fact, it's like what we've been talking about of having one thing in front of you and then when that is done, it has a definite end. And then you can, that a nice ease in to series 3 is that we've had actually quite a particular contained, both in time and in subject, way to connect and to connect with the lovely listeners again as well. I've enjoyed that. It's been easy, I found.
Maybe we need to get back into that. Maybe the part of me that's trying to prepare for taking this in as part of what I'm going to do over the next couple of months. I mean, in January, I'll have all the energy in the world, but just thinking about the next 2 months, that actually changing it back to where it was at the start when we used to have an amount of time, rather than just talk for like 2 hours and then edit, might actually be a much more viable way of doing it.
That's exciting.
Okay. Thank you so much for being with us, lovely listeners. Hopefully we'll get this out at some stage soon. And we
autisticlicense@gmail.com if you would like to comment, add to anything that we've been talking about in your experiences of timelines and experience and motivation and paralysis, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to make it in, is it?
Thanks,
that was a mess.
Thank you so much.
If there's anything you want to say, get in touch and say it.
Thank you so much for all of you keeping in touch with us over this time. We know we're a bit sporadic on the podcast, but we love that we have relationships with you that mean that we can still hear from you and still have dialogue. Thank you so much. Take care.
Speak soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Autistic License podcast. You can connect with us via Instagram, Facebook at autisticlicense.com, or by email at autisticlicense@gmail.com. And we spell license the British way, Licence. We also have a thriving Facebook community. Search for Autistic License Siana and Leo, or click on the link in the show notes.